you know that during the 1940s, people commonly ate organ meats like liver and kidneys because other meat products were scarce? This is just one of the surprising dietary staples from an era where food was not just a meal, but a strategy. Welcome to another episode of World Eats, where today we're diving into the fascinating world of the 1940s to uncover what 1940s people actually ate. Understanding the diets of the past not only connects us with our history, but also sheds light on how our culinary preferences have evolved over decades. Exploring the food trends of the 1940s presents a unique challenge, primarily because the decade was heavily influenced by World War II and the immediate post-war period. This era's culinary records are often incomplete or overshadowed by broader historical events, making it difficult to gain a full understanding of everyday eating habits. Much of the information we have today is derived from wartime propaganda designed to encourage support for rationing and home gardening rather than accurate depictions of daily meals. Furthermore, during the war, many food industries were repurposed for military needs, which drastically altered production and consumption patterns. For example, sugar and meat were exported in large quantities to support troops overseas, leaving domestic supplies limited and subject to rationing. This scarcity led to the government issuing ration books and setting up a coupon system, which controlled how much of certain foods families could buy each week, thus skewing the usual dietary patterns. Additionally, the focus on victory gardens and local sourcing to supplement ration goods means that regional variations in diet were more pronounced than might be expected. Families in rural areas, for example, had greater access to fresh produce and could sometimes bypass ration restrictions with homegrown food, unlike urban dwellers who were more dependent on rationed goods. Lastly, the 1940s saw significant shifts in food technology and processing, like the introduction of Spam and powdered milk, which were innovations born from necessity but poorly documented in culinary literature. These factors combined create a complex puzzle for historians trying to reconstruct the typical 1940s diet, relying heavily on personal accounts, old cookbooks, and archived document guidelines, each with its own bias and gaps in detail. The 1940s were a decade of significant culinary adaptation, largely due to the impact of World War II and its aftermath on food availability and consumption habits. The onset of food rationing transformed the culinary landscape, compelling households to become more resourceful and creative with the ingredients at their disposal. For example, staples like sugar, butter, and meat were strictly rationed, which led to the popularity of substitute products and recipes that required fewer or no rationed ingredients. Households frequently used margarine instead of butter, and dishes that traditionally featured meat were adapted to use smaller amounts supplemented by vegetables or cereals. Victory gardens also played a crucial role during this period. Encouraged by government campaigns, these gardens were planted by citizens in private yards and public parks to boost food production, reducing pressure on the public food supply. It's estimated that by 1943, nearly 20 million victory gardens produced over 40% of the produce consumed in the United States. These gardens yielded a variety of vegetables like tomatoes, carrots, and onions, which became dietary staples. Another aspect of food consumption in the 1940s was the reliance on preserved and canned goods. With fresh meat scarce, canned meats such as Spam became household staples. Introduced in 1937, Spam was highly utilized by both civilians and the military during the war. It was versatile, easy to cook, and did not require refrigeration, making it an ideal product for the times. Additionally, with sugar rationed, people often preserved fruits without it, using alternative sweeteners or relying on the natural sugars of the fruits. The introduction of community canteens also reshaped eating habits. These canteens served meals that adhered to rationing regulations and were often operated by volunteers. They provided a communal space where people could eat a nutritious meal without depleting their own ration supplies. This not only helped to stretch rationed items further, but also fostered a sense of community and shared sacrifice during tough times. Moreover, the decade saw innovation out of necessity, which led to the creation of new recipes and food products. For instance, with restrictions on wheat, recipes that used alternative grains such as oats or cornmeal became more common. Dishes like meatloaf were reinvented to use less meat, incorporating instead ingredients like lentils, rice, or breadcrumbs to extend the meat. This period also saw the rise of mock dishes, such as mock apple pie made from Ritz crackers and cinnamon, which mimicked the taste and texture of traditional apple pie without using the then scarce apples. Hello there, fellow foodies. Did you know that 99.8% of our viewers are not subscribed? If you've enjoyed this journey into the world of historical dining, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join our Worldeats community and never miss out on our culinary adventures. We've got a lot more delicious content coming your way, exploring luxury dining across the globe. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe now and let's continue this food journey together. Now let's get back to the video. Despite the adversities and constraints imposed by the 1940s, the nutritional content of the era's diet offers some surprising revelations. While many might assume that the diets were bland and unbalanced due to rationing and scarcity, the reality is quite the opposite. The wartime emphasis on eating for victory promoted a diet that was unexpectedly diverse and balanced, prioritizing vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins from limited meat and fish supplies. The US government, through programs and propaganda such as the Basic 7 Food Guide introduced by the USDA in 1943, encouraged citizens to consume a variety of food groups daily. This guide was more comprehensive than its predecessors, recommending daily servings across different food categories, including green and yellow vegetables, oranges, tomatoes, and grapefruit for vitamin C, meat, poultry, fish, or eggs for protein, and bread, flour, and cereals for carbohydrates. Additionally, rationing inadvertently led to reduced consumption of fats, sugars, and processed foods, which are now known contributors to various health issues like heart disease and diabetes. This inadvertent shift towards what we would now consider a healthier diet resulted in lower rates of these diseases compared to pre-war statistics. Food innovation also played a pivotal role in maintaining nutritional standards. The introduction of fortified foods, such as bread and milk enriched with vitamins and minerals, helped compensate for potential dietary deficiencies. These innovations were critical in ensuring that the civilian population, including children, maintained adequate nutrition despite the disruptions caused by the war. Thus, the 1940s stand out as a period where necessity drove nutritional advancements and public health initiatives that had lasting impacts on dietary guidelines and practices. The era's culinary creativity and resilience not only met the immediate needs of the time, but also laid foundational practices for future nutritional awareness and food science developments. Today, we've explored the resourcefulness and sometimes surprising culinary world of the 1940s. This look back reveals not only the resilience of that era's people, but also the roots of some modern dietary trends. Understanding these historical diets highlights the adaptability and creativity of past generations and their impact on our eating habits today. What do you think about the 1940s food trend? Could you see yourself enjoying a meal of liver and onions or a slice of mock apple pie? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to stay tuned for our video on 1950s cuisine for more culinary time travel. And if you are craving more culinary time travel, then this is the video you have to watch.